And now, your Fox 44 forecast first.
Good evening. A cloudy and gloomy day we had today. Here we have our regional temperatures right now. We're sitting at 60 degrees in Waco, College Station, and at Austin. 61 in Dallas, Fort Worth. So we had a gloomy, a little bit cooler day today. Here's your forecast first. So for tonight, I'm going to go mostly cloudy for the majority of the night. We're starting off midnight, 54 degrees. Then as you get to 6 a.m., we cool down slightly to around 53 degrees. Then as you wake up the next morning, we warm up slightly to 55 degrees. We have details on a warming up weekend with next chance of showers and these seasonal temperatures that are being more seasonal. Fox 44 News starts right now.
Straight ahead on Fox 44 News, today is Veterans Day, and the city of Waco celebrates with a parade. And growing concerns about the Biden administration's response to more attacks against American forces. Also, Israeli forces continue to press deeper into Gaza City as Israel says it's opened a second humanitarian corridor for people to get out.
Live from Waco, Temple, and Killeen, your news now. This is Fox 44 News at 9.
Good evening and thanks for joining us on Fox 44 News at 9. I'm PJ Hessner. President Biden observing Veterans Day today in Delaware after a wreath laying earlier at Arlington National Cemetery. In the meantime, attacks on American forces in the Middle East are ramping up. Fox's Lucas Tomlinson is traveling with the president in Delaware and has more.
On this Veterans Day, it's important to remember the tens of thousands of Americans deployed to the Middle East right now, including 2,500 to Iraq and some 900 to neighboring Syria. Some 60 have come under attack and have been injured by Iranian-backed proxy forces who have launched rockets and drones at some of those American bases. All have returned to duty, we're told. President Biden had those soldiers in mind when he spoke earlier at Arlington National Cemetery and spoke about the troops in harm's way.
We must remember, only 1% of our society today protects 99% of us. 1%. We owe them. We owe you.
There have been 48 attacks on U.S. forces in the Middle East since October 17th. 6 of those attacks have taken place since Wednesday. USS Eisenhower is now sailing south of Yemen near the location where Iran's proxy forces shot down a $32 million American Reaper drone. North of Yemen, Saudi Arabia hosted a large Arab summit of Middle Eastern leaders, demanding an end to the war on Hamas in Gaza. Many believe it was Saudi Arabia's warming relations with Israel that sparked the October 7th massacre. Now it appears it's Saudi Arabia and Iran that are getting closer. Iran's president visited Saudi Arabia for the first time in 11 years. President Biden hopes China can help mediate an end to the Israeli-Hamas war. President Biden meets Chinese President Xi Jinping in San Francisco this Wednesday. Traveling with the president in Wilmington, Delaware, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
Israel's military released video today showing airstrikes it conducted against suspected Hezbollah positions in Lebanon. The Israel Defense Forces issued a statement saying it had attacked a number of terrorist infrastructures of the Hezbollah terrorist organization in Lebanese territory. Today, Hezbollah said its fighters attacked at least 2 Israeli posts, as well as an infantry unit on Israel's side of the border. It claimed to have made direct hits. On Friday, the militant group announced it had also released 3 drones into Israeli airspace. It said its aircraft struck 2 Israeli military sites. The Israeli military says one of the drones was intercepted and the 2 others fell in the northern part of the country. Hezbollah and Israeli troops have been exchanging fire along the Lebanon-Israel border since October 8th, a day after the Palestinian militant Hamas group carried out a deadly surprise attack in southern Israel. And as the war between Israel and Hamas enters its 6th week, Palestinians are fleeing northern Gaza during short-term evacuation windows. IDF forces are pressing deeper into Gaza as Israel says it's opened a second humanitarian corridor for people to get out. Fox's Alex Hogan is in Israel with the latest.
After days of continued attacks here in northern Israel between the IDF and Hezbollah, the country's defense minister, Yoav Gallant, traveled to northern Israel, giving a very grim warning to Hezbollah, warning that if attacks continue, the IDF will not flinch at doing to Beirut what it has done to Gaza. And it was just hours earlier when the leader of Hezbollah gave a speech of his own in Lebanon as tensions continue to boil over. Hassan Nasrallah called Lebanon a frontier of pressure on Israel and that Hezbollah is armed with new weapons and ammunition. Now, moving further south, the IDF targeted Hamas in Gaza by land, air, and sea. The IDF says that so far it's found more than 90 tunnels used by Hamas. The Israeli government has agreed to temporarily pause the fighting for civilians to flee, something that 100,000 people have done just in the past several days. The IDF today says it took out a member of Hamas who kept 1,000 people hostage in a Gaza hospital, preventing them from evacuating. We have seen some of the footage inside those hospitals filled with patients surrounded by attacks, and the Palestinian health minister is calling for immediate help after he says the electricity was cut off at Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital, where patients suffered from lack of oxygen and medicine. Meanwhile, in Saudi Arabia today, Arab leaders are meeting to discuss the war and what to do. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman says that the war needs to end and that all of the hostages need to be returned. Iran celebrating what it calls the unity of Islamic nations. Here on the ground, there's a very real sense of curiosity from Israelis and members of the government after we've seen protests take place around the world as to whether foreign leaders and other citizens are supporting Israel's right to defend itself after the attacks on October 7th. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called out some of the criticism, saying that the blame should be pointed at Hamas. In Israel, Alex Hogan, Fox News.
Well, happy Veterans Day to all who have sacrificed and served. Tonight, we'll show you how cities across America are honoring veterans, and we're starting right here in Central Texas. Fox 44's Hannah Hoover shares how Waco celebrated in a big way.
TJ, the city of Waco is putting on its annual Veterans Day parade, and today marks its 100th celebration.
I like just seeing how many turn out to honor it, and it means a lot to guys that I didn't go to Vietnam, but I served with guys in Vietnam.
Yes, it's great. We didn't have this when I came back. And those memories are kind of fading. Still there.
Along Austin Avenue from 12th Street to 3rd Street, community members gathered celebrating and honoring those who have sacrificed for our freedom. Army veteran David Tarvin shared why the parade is special to him.
I think for everybody here, it speaks of freedom and the freedom that we have in America, and it's preserved.
City of Waco Mayor Dylan Meek and Congressman Pete Sessions were in the parade, as well as local high school bands and, of course, military veterans.
And you honor your country and the people that served, and not only that, just honor fellow citizens. It teaches you a lot being in the military.
A special thank you to all who have served to keep our nation safe and free. In Waco, Hannah Hoover, Fox 44 News.
The New York Stock Exchange showing their support for our nation's veterans today. Traders and guests of the exchange paused for a moment of silence Friday morning. Members of the U.S. Armed Forces later rang the opening bell. Today is Veterans Day, but the holiday is observed Friday. The New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, and the bond market are open, although most banks are not today. Stocks opened higher and retreated slightly, though the major averages are holding on to some gains in early trading. And other parts of the country taking a moment to remember its men and women in uniform today. Veterans Day events honoring their service and sacrifice while acknowledging the uphill battle they often face after returning from combat. Fox's Christina Coleman has the story.
President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris visiting Arlington National Cemetery Saturday, laying a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier as they paid their respects to U.S. soldiers past and present who put their lives on the line to defend American freedoms.
Those who have always kept the light of liberty shining bright across the world, our veterans.
Across the country, special events and ceremonies honoring U.S. servicemen and women. The National World War II Museum in New Orleans recently held a grand opening for its new exhibit, the Liberation Pavilion, that shows the harrowing reality for the soldiers who fought those battles.
It makes me very sad to recall the circumstances of so many young men that died.
Those who still live with those painful memories hope that new generations never have to endure the same horrors they faced.
We all live one life and we're all human beings. Just live life the way it should be. No war. It's not necessary.
Some veterans often face a difficult reality as they readjust to civilian life at home. Some struggle with PTSD, mental health, and substance abuse disorders. Organizations like Tunnels to Towers provide housing and resources to help veterans get back on their feet.
They took me in, they gave me a lot of love, they gave me a lot of time and effort, and it made my life very fulfilling.
The VA recently dedicated $1 billion in grants to nonprofits working to end veteran homelessness. Reporting in Los Angeles, Christina Coleman, Fox News.
Still ahead on Fox 44, a new report reveals the last 12 months were the hottest Earth has ever recorded. We'll tell you the damage the heat has done after the break.
You're watching Fox 44 News Weekend with PJ Hessner, Weather 8 certified meteorologist Xavier Cologne, and sports with Parker Reed.